Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. Big 12 action, West Virginia versus Baylor. Brian, we talked in the last video about teams beating one another twice in the regular season. Here's another matchup. Baylor took care of West Virginia twice during the regular season. West Virginia only had 8 losses the entire season, and 2 of them went to Baylor. What do you make? Do you give Baylor a free pass that they're going to roll again here, or West Virginia, can they get the job done?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've watched West Virginia play quite a bit this year. They will press you the entire length of the floor the entire game. They don't wait till they're down. They press the entire game. The very first, which does leave for quick, easy buckets for the opponent if the press doesn't work. The first time they played at home against Baylor, Baylor opened up to like a 24-4 lead. It was ridiculous. West Virginia couldn't get back. Last game was a little more competitive. This is your call, but I'm anxious to see what West Virginia does with the press against Baylor the third time, and then thereafter that in the tournament, whether it tires them out or not. But
yeah, that's a good point moving forward, as they're going to, if they do advance, playing, back-to-back days, and if the longer they keep the streak going, what kind of effect that has on a team that plays that style. But you got to win the first one to get to the second one. And when we talked about the last meeting, when we were talking the Central Florida and the East Carolina game, we're saying when 2 bad teams play, it's tough, for a team to beat the other one 3 times. I also think it's tough whenever it's 2 good teams. And you got to put, West Virginia only has 8 losses on the season, so they're an above average ball club. And we know Baylor's a good ball club. These are 2 good ball clubs. I just don't see this Baylor team being able to beat West Virginia 3 times. And when I look at these things and we talk about revenge, there's different types of revenge. We talk about it in football and so forth. But for me, the reason why I'll always start when I handicap looking at the revenging team, it's because when you go in to draw on the chalkboard, if you're the team that won, what are you changing? You're not going to go in and change your game plan because everything you did worked. The team that lost is the one that's making the adjustments, the X's and O's, and if they make the right adjustments, they're going to be successful. Even if they don't make the right adjustments, they're going to make an adjustment that the other team's not prepared for, that at least it's going to get them off to a better start. Your thoughts on that?
West Virginia would definitely come in with some adjustments. They're going to have to. Excuse me. But Baylor really has nothing to correct from the first 2 meetings. I mean, they played both games. They played as good as they can play. So there's really not a whole lot they can correct. They're just going to go out there and just say, let's go up and down the floor like we did the last time. And West Virginia, Huggy Bear is he's going to bring some changes to the table this time.
What I've thought about this West Virginia team during conference play. First off, I think the Big 12 is a homer conference. It's tough to get calls on the road in this conference. Just seems like the home team, always gets, the benefit of the calls, and it's tough to win on the road. I think for West Virginia, because of the scheduling dynamic, geographically, West Virginia's not a Big 12 school.
No.
Now, in football, it's different because you play 1 game a week. You prepare and you travel out. But when you're doing basketball and you're playing 2 games a week, and if you got, a road game at the beginning of the week and then a home game at the end of the week, you're traveling all the way out, coming back. But if you get 2 road games, you either got to stay out on the road or you're flying back and forth. And I think it's hard on a team like West Virginia because of this schedule. I think it takes its toll a little bit during the season. I think now that you're in the tournament, you're locked down to one place, it's going to negate that disadvantage.
Well, West Virginia definitely got frequent flyer miles this year between traveling back and forth from Texas to Oklahoma. And, I mean, they had some really tough road games this year. And they did well in some of them. And, I think you're exactly right. I mean, playing at the same site in this conference tournament where they're not traveling, they're going to make 1 trip. It's going to be right there. And, I think it's going to be an advantage to them.
All right, well, I'm going to make it official. I'm going to go ahead and take West Virginia here. I think this is going to go right down to the wire with these 2 teams. They're both good basketball teams. I just don't see West Virginia getting swept 3 times from Baylor this year. And I'm calling it West Virginia by 1 to 3 points. Right now, we're taping on Tuesday. We're seeing West Virginia early numbers +3. If it moves anyway, I think it's going to move up to 3.5. I think people are going to look at how Baylor handled West Virginia, and the public, when they get involved on game day, probably going to go to the Baylor side, and you might be seeing a 3.5 come game day. But we'll go ahead and make it official at +3. And don't forget, we told you in the last video, all access, weekend all access, $69. Get everything from your favorite capper. Check it out. Go to wagertalk.com, and don't forget, use that coupon code James and the number 10. You'll save $10. All right, we're going to come back and we're going to give you a futures bet for the winner, a long shot in the Big Ten. That's up next, wagertalk.com.